Good morning, everyone. Wow, I get an applause just for saying good morning. It's an easy crowd. Hey, my name's Father John Stratton. I am the pastor of Trinity Episcopal Church. And today we have gathered to celebrate Trinity's inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places for its positive significance to the LGBT community. Now, in the Gospel of John, Jesus is talking to his disciples and he tells them how the people will know that they are followers of Jesus. And here's what Jesus does not say. He doesn't say, you will know, the people will know that you're my followers because of your beautiful building. He doesn't say they will know that you are my followers because of your ability to keep the rules. He doesn't say you will know that they will know that you are my followers because of your righteousness. And he most definitely does not say they will know that you are my followers because of who you exclude. Yeah. In fact, he says they will know that you are my followers because of your love. Your love for each other, your love for neighbor, and today is about love. Today is about God's inclusive and radical love that includes all people. Yes. Today, we are recognizing Trinity's witness to that love. Yeah. Trinity has witnessed to the love of God. They have bore witness that God's family includes the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah. Right. In fact, they bore witness that God's family is not complete without God's gay and queer and trans and lesbian children. Right. Today is about God's love, God's radical love, about the inclusive and expansive boundaries of God's family. And today we're going to unveil a plaque, a marker that will bear witness to that witness. But there are other witnesses. You are the witnesses to God's love. You are the markers. You are the stones that show and tell of God's love and God's care. And today, specifically for God's love and God's care for the LGBTQ plus community. And that witness will outlast the plaque that we're going to unveil today. Yeah. That witness is eternal. Because that witness has touched the lives of so many people. So you are the markers. You are the witnesses. You are the stones that point to that love. So thank you for coming out today. Thank you for your witness. Thank you for being part of God's inclusive and expansive family. Our first speaker today is Nick Dunn, who is the Mayor's Public Information Officer, who will read for us a proclamation from the Mayor. Nick?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nick Dunn. My pronouns are he, him, and I am very proud to stand here today on behalf of Mayor Tashara Jones to read this proclamation to you all. Before I read this, I just wanted to note, this morning when I was having my coffee, I realized it was this weekend 16 years ago when I drove from my small town upbringing to my first Pride. And on that weekend, it was the first time I had realized that there were more people out there who were like me, who loved like me, who identified like I did. And most importantly, that there actually were institutions of faith that included me, unlike what the institutions of faith had shown me, in my hometown. Right. Which is why this and so it's an honor to stand here today to speak on behalf of a mayor who understands that representation matters because it literally saves lives, because it saved mine. And so I'm very excited to be reading this to you. We did leave the document inside because of the weather, so I will be reading this from my phone. The proclamation reads, whereas, founded in 1855, Trinity Episcopal Church has stood at the corner of Euclid and Washington Avenues in the city of St. Louis since 1935 and serves parishioners that are from many backgrounds and of diverse orientations. And whereas today the St. Louis community is celebrating Trinity Episcopal Church being recognized by the National Register of Historic Places as a significant place in LGBTQIA+ history, Trinity is the first and only such site in Missouri and the first Episcopal parish in the country so honored. And whereas Trinity's longtime support for the LGBTQIA+ community dates back to 1969, when it served as a meeting space for the Mandrake Society, St. Louis's first gay rights organization. And whereas the National Register of Historic Places has recognized Trinity for the years 1969 to 1993, which included early support of gay rights, its embrace of the LGBTQ parishioners and community members, and its compassionate response to the first AIDS patients of the 1980s. And whereas, on behalf of the City of St. Louis, it is my distinct pleasure to congratulate Trinity Episcopal Church on being recognized as one of only 24 LGBTQIA+ sites in the country deemed significant to American history and worthy of preservation. Now, therefore, I, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor of the City of St. Louis, do hereby proclaim June 26, 2021 as Trinity Episcopal Church Day in the City of St. Louis.
Thank you, Nick. We appreciate the mayor's support. We also appreciate the support of various public officials, elected officials who are here today. I just want to recognize Heather Navarro, who is the alderwoman of the 28th Ward. Heather, thanks for being here. I believe Bill Stevens of the 12th Ward is also here. And there were some others who were maybe, of course, Shane Cohn of the 25th Ward. Thank you, Shane. Am I missing any other alders, alderwomen or aldermen? Yes. Where? No, okay. Future alderwoman, right there. All right, well, next up is Dr. Katie Batsa, who is the Associate Professor and Director of Graduate Studies at KU, who was really the person driving the application to put Trinity on the National Register. She did a whole lot of work. I'd like to invite Katie up to speak. Katie.
In 2014, when the Obama administration said that it wanted to make sure that the National Park Service properly brought in LGBTQ histories and places to make sure that LGBTQ lives and histories were part of the national fabric and storytelling. But, so the work that I did was just bring together the stories that started decades before that. This church is a truly unique and amazing place. When I came to St. Louis and said, hey, I think that there's a great history here, there's a lot of great bedrock because of the amazing scholars that already exist here and the activists that exist here, what story should I tell, what place should we nominate? There was no question that this was the place, whether it was because it became the home to the Mandrake Society in 1969, actually before the important Stonewall riots of New York, or because it housed a lot of the early AIDS organizations, or because it housed the first LGBTQ mayoral debate in 1993. These are important events, but the more important events to me are the way that compassionate love is lived out throughout this history. Yeah. The bedside caring of people who were thrown out of other churches and faith communities, and making sure that they died with dignity and known that they were loved and cared by their community and their God. The way that the community rallied and made decisions to stay in this place rather than go out to the suburbs or to different neighborhoods and embrace all of their neighbors, black, white, LGBTQIA+, whatever. They have always been on the forefront and in this way, and they truly live out God's notion of radical love. And that is worth marking with any plaque, any effort, any energy that we can to say, please keep going, especially in these moments that have been so challenging, where we can finally come together and celebrate. I was reminded that this is kind of the stand-in Pride right now, because all the other major Pride celebrations have been delayed because of COVID. And I say, what more fitting can this be than this place where love has come together to change people's lives? So thank you all for all that you have done.
Thank you, Professor. I also want to give a shout out to past clergy at Trinity, Father Bill Chapman, Susan Nanning, and Elsie, and Jennifer Phillips. You know, it's because of their witness that we're here today. It's because of their stand, because of their witness to God's love that we are celebrating here. They took a lot of risks for this, so thank them, and I want to thank them for their leadership and their strength and their courage. Next up, Greg Smith, who is the owner, I'm going to probably mess this up with my Southern Illinois tongue, but of CWE's Coulfiers by Sean, and was arrested in 1969, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that story. Greg.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for coming, and first of all, I want to congratulate Trinity on this wonderful recognition. I grew up here in St. Louis and I moved to Chicago. I have 3.5 minutes to tell a long story, but I came back to Chicago and I met Bill Chapman and his lovely wife, Allie. And that's why I started coming to Trinity, because my shopping days were over after coming here. So, Halloween 1969, a whole bunch of my friends and I were getting dressed up to go out for Halloween as women. So, we got all dressed up, we went down to a bar on Olive called the Onyx Room.
Yeah.
And at 1 minute after midnight, the police, I was walking out, the police came and grabbed me and I think 8 other people, threw us in the back of a paddy wagon. It looked like they had raided a horror house. We all looked just absolutely crazy. And I had no idea of why we were going and getting in this paddy wagon until we got downtown, and then they said that they were charging us with masquerading. Well, remember, it was 1 minute after midnight on Halloween. So we're down there in the jail, and I don't know, by this time it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still having fun in jail. Friends of mine, and we're singing, let me entertain you. We're entertaining the rest of the prisoners. And this policeman comes over and he says, now you two better shut up. And I said, oh, okay. And I looked at my friend Michael, and I said, I think I better call my mother. This might be getting serious. So I called I get you one phone call. So I called my mother, I told her where I was, and they said, okay, we'll come down and get you out. So they came down, and I did not know that the Mandrake Society was in the lobby of the police station with a lot of my friends. I didn't know that. I wouldn't have had to call my mother and my father. So anyhow, we get ready to, I get ready to leave because I got to get out first because my parents had already, they signed their house over as my bail. So I'm getting ready to leave, and the policeman says, I take that wig off of you. Take that wig off and walk out of here like a man. I said, in a purple dress and gold pumps? I don't think so. Got out my compact, pieced up my wig, and said, I'll walk out the way I came in. I opened the door, and there was my mother and father. And she says to me, you got on my good diamond earring. Snatched them off. And then we went outside and they're practically chasing me down Clark Street to get into the car. We get into the car, my mother goes, now your father's so upset you're gonna have to drive home. So I go, okay. So by this time it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. All the neighbors are coming up to get their papers, and I'm walking up the driveway in this purple dress and the wig off then. My mother, get in that house, get in that house. We got in the house. So anyhow, the Mandrake Society actually saved all of it. This is a good story. They got us a lawyer, and we all had to go to court. And the lawyer went up to the judge, talking to the judge, and he says, masquerading, huh? Well, I think you need to drop these charges because next year at Christmas, or this coming year at Christmas, I'm going to arrest every Santa Claus, famous for masquerading. And in those days, we had the VP parade, and there was a lot of the rich people on the VP, the men dressed up like women. And he said, and I will arrest all of them also. And the judge said, Case dismissed. So thank you to the Mandrake Society, and thank you, Trinity.
Thank you, Greg. Greg, you might have been the first one to be a Trinitarian to be arrested, but you definitely were not the last. So you set a great precedent for us here at Trinity. Next up, I'd like to invite Riley Lubers, who is an incoming freshman at SLU and is a proud member of Trinity Episcopal Church. Riley.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Riley, and I've grown up here at Trinity. From the very beginning, I've been very welcomed into this faith community. And as I grew and realized my lesbian identity, that did not change in the slightest. I feel absolutely blessed to have been raised in such a community that has wholeheartedly accepted this. It has made a world of difference growing up and seeing LGBT clergy members and outspoken support like this. And to know that my faith and my core identity can coexist.
That's right. That's right.
To know that I am not broken, I am not wrong, and I am loved.
Powerful.
Trinity has cultivated a confidence in who I am and provided unwavering support that I know I can lean on for years to come. So thank you to the community that has raised me and shaped me as not only an individual, but a member of a larger community.
Right.
Happy Pride Month, everybody.
That makes me incredibly proud, folks. Incredibly proud of this community. This is a great time to thank some other folks who have made today possible in so many ways. Jim Andrus, I don't know if Jim was able to be here today. There's Jim. Ellie Chapman. Ed Taylor, I'm not sure if Etta is here today. Michael Shepley. Jeff Monroe, thank you. The Venerable Harry Light. Thank you all for helping make this day possible and giving your time to help organize this event. Next up, Alicia Hernandez, who is a St. Louis organizer for Missouri Jobs with Justice and a member of Trinity. Alicia?
Yes, good morning, y'all. Welcome and many thanks again for joining us in today's dedication and celebration. As John said, my name is Alicia Hernandez. My gender pronouns are she, her. I am a mother. I am queer. I am a community organizer. My wife and I are active members of this congregation, and I am proud to be a member of the Trinity Vestry. For decades, as we've heard, this church has not only served its congregation, but it has also frequently provided welcoming space for radicals, revolutionaries, and the marginalized. One of the first times I heard of Trinity, actually, was when this parish provided refuge to activists who were protesting police brutality as they needed a place to retreat from riot gear and pepper spray. What drew me to Trinity was this congregation's commitment to racial and social justice. And one place where we have heard today that that's been evident is Trinity's long-running contribution to queer and trans justice and the LGBTQ plus community, which is why we're here during Pride. Pride is declaring that our bodies, our love, our expression, our truth is right, is good, is holy, and divine. They say that pride is protest. Well, within our Christian lives, there are many times when God calls us to complement our prayer with protest. And throughout the Bible, time and time again, we saw how Jesus purposefully protested, dissented, questioned, and defended.
Right.
I see those Christian values upheld every day in this parish. Whether we're offering a safe, welcoming space, showing up in the street and getting arrested for racial justice, or joining workers on the strike line, fighting for livable wages. This church has a long legacy of being in community with radicals, revolutionaries, and the marginalized. And I am so proud to witness and to be a part of this history. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Alicia. Next up is Cody Burleson, who is the Trinity Food Ministry Assistant. And I met Cody. I met her in the back of a police van, and we've been friends ever since. All right, Cody, go on up.
Hi, I'm Cody Burleson. How y'all doing? Good. I wasn't sure if people would shout out or not. I wasn't sure. You know, we're at church, so yeah, we're good. Okay, good. So, as John mentioned, I was a member of Trinity for about 5 years. I first encountered the church through John. We were both in handcuffs, zip ties in the back of a police truck. We had been asked to show up in solidarity with fast food workers who were on strike, and we both found ourselves in the same truck that day. And I felt called to come to this church the next Sunday, and that was the first Sunday of December 2016, and I've been coming every Sunday ever since. It very quickly became an incredibly important part of my life. I had a relationship with God since I was a child, and I'd kind of given up on having that, and I found that here. So that was, 5 years ago, and about 2 years ago, I started to seriously consider, or really reckon with, the possibility of being transgender. And was terrified of it, and quite frankly, there were a lot of moments I didn't want to be, because I left my rural, Appalachian village, basically. I cut all ties, basically, to go try to pursue some middle-class dream through college and whatever, and found myself in St. Louis without a lot of no family, no community, really. But over the few years, I had cultivated that, right? Not just at Trinity, but in a lot of different ways. And that became the most important thing in my life. So the idea of being transgender was, at first, a threat to that. It was terrifying, the idea that this thing I have to reckon with about who I am could sever me from communities. But it was unavoidable, and eventually, at some point, I just had to kind of play the hand I was dealt, and go down this path. But I knew in my mind that Trinity was a place that it was going to be all right.
Yeah.
And when I needed, don't do that, you're going to cry. When I was coming out, I came out here first, which is amazing in Western Christianity. Unfortunately, that is pretty rare in my limited 30-year experience. But I came out here first, and I talked to John and other people first, because I knew that's what I needed. I knew I needed my foundational community to be able to do this really scary thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what else can I say? That is Trinity, and I'm forever thankful for it. And also, one last thing. It's also a shame that this is such a big celebration, because it really, quite frankly, shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It is not that complicated to be a Christian and someone who accepts LGBTQ people. It's really not. If you find it complicated, you're overthinking it.
That's right. That's right, Cody. Speak it.
True family values. I'm a family values voter, and when it comes down to it, welcoming people into your church is a part of that. That's it. Thank you all so much.
Love you, Cody. Thank you, Cody. All right, next up is the Right Reverend Dion Johnson, who is the 11th bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Missouri. Bishop Johnson will be giving a few remarks, and as soon as he is done with his remarks, he is going to move down to the plaque to do the blessing. So if you kind of want to follow him as he goes, you can watch the action. So Bishop Johnson.
Good morning. Try that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you all here this morning on such a historic and a wonderful day. I want to take you back to the 1960s. On the eve of one of the most profound and transformative moments in the life of this nation, during the 1960s, when civil rights and LGBTQIA+ rights had their origins, a very unassuming and often unsung man who embodied both issues issued a clarion call to a nation and to a movement. Bayard Rustin, who does not get a lot of credit, is the organizer of the March on Washington and a close confidant of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an openly gay activist who in that time was not popular. But he said of those on the street, "We need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers."
That's right.
Angelic troublemakers. Today we gather in this place to give thanks, to celebrate and memorialize a bunch of angelic troublemakers who sought to live out their faith in God and their call to respect the dignity of every human being. Today we celebrate and give thanks for the courageous and contagious witness of this church, who declared by its very presence, by their preaching and their continued protest, that God is in the business of love. Today we stand on the shoulders of those angelic troublemakers, pioneering women and men who have unabashedly and unashamedly declared that by their lives and their presence, that love is love is love.
That's right.
That dignity is a God-given virtue, that as my grandmother would say, God don't make no jump. Today we declare that the church at its best stands with those whom others would push to the sidelines, to the margins of history. But we are here to tell a different story. We're here to affirm God's love, that God's love is far greater than any stigma, any prejudice, or any act of hate. Today I can stand proudly as a black, gay, legally married man and as the Episcopal Bishop of the Diocese of Missouri. Pioneering and provocative work of the people who called Trinity their spiritual home. They remind us that the crucible of struggle is where hope is born, again and again and again. The church in many ways and in many times has gotten it wrong on who God loves and who God doesn't love. But today we celebrate where we have gotten it right. Where we, as good people of faith, have stood up for dignity and personhood of queer people when it wasn't fashionable or popular or in some cases safe. This is a testament to the power of love found in this place. And you and I must be keepers of that story, the story of this place. The struggle for LGBTQIA+ rights and equality marches on. But today we pause on the long march towards beloved community to honor the lives, the work, and the ministry of courageous men and women. Let us honor their legacy by continuing the struggle. Let us honor their legacy not just with monuments and plaques, but by continuing the work of being angelic troublemakers. So may God bless you, may God keep you, and may you continue to be an angelic troublemaker in this place and wherever you may go.
Yeah.